Hello, welcome to the Squarebase Show. I'm your host, Rob, with my co-host, Val, and today we're going to be giving you FAQ hot takes. Okay, get ready to get punch drunk and punch quick with two people who are going to speed through the FAQ. Let's just do some quick TLDRs. It's Monday, and today not only have all the legacy PDFs been released, but also the FAQ for the core rulebook. So our first release. A lot of you, some people, I've seen this a lot on the internet, they get a little bit sad when they're like, oh, so my book is invalid. Yes, that's basically how books work. I really hope that they integrate these into the EPUBs that they have released and that they automatically update the EPUBs. This would be great. But some of them aren't necessarily even like erratas. Some of them are just rules clarifications because wordage is hard.
I'm not seeing any errata. So therefore, these are genuine, frequently asked questions. So these are clarifications. So that's great. Sometimes their FAQs are like erratas in which they change it in like a raw interpretation to what they think it should be. But we'll see we'll see whether or not these are just good clarifications. I'm also noticing there's nothing about the individual armies on here. So that's also interesting. Maybe we'll see some stuff for the grand armies, to follow.
Yeah. And so we haven't even read through these yet. This is literally hot takes, guesses of what they're at. And so being part of our wonderful community, people live on Twitch, people in the YouTube comments, people on the podcast, feel free to throw out all your ideas, stuff that you also want answering, stuff that you're not clear about, and especially the YouTube comments. I tend to find there's a lot of people who reply to each other's comments now, which I think is really healthy. So if you do have, hey, I don't know how this works, or actually I've been reading, I can't find an answer to this, someone is probably going to pop in and answer your question. So let's try to do this together. Let's build a community working around this. That's what we're going to try and do right now. So we're going to pop off. So Val,
I want to interject real quick too. And as a matter of Squarebaseness, we're also going to start pinning a top comment with any errors or omissions. So if you are going into the comments hot, check the pinned comment going forward, and we'll go back and do that on some of our other shows too. Because sometimes things the hot take is a hot take. And the commenters who get in on these things, I learned so much. So anything that's good that I pull out of there, I'll make sure that it's in sort of a pinned comment so you guys can see. So we'll have an FAQ for our FAQ hot takes.
Oh,
sick!
God, that is good. That's so good. I want to do that more. Okay, all right.
On the errata, let's go.
All right. So, and also, it's good. Let's also talk about support as well. A lot of people saying that Old World wasn't going to or might not get the support. It's just going to be fire and forget. This is a day one, basically, release. And it's pretty significant. There's 4 pages. So if you're an Old World fan or thinking about getting the Old World, I would be very confidently buoyed by the support this game is going to get, which is going to be good. All right. So. And
in the Legacy / Renegade PDF article, they also committed to doing this every 6 months. At least we think it is because they said biannually, but we think they meant semi-annually. That's clearly a supported game. So let's get after it.
Exactly. All right, first one. Can a unit arrayed in close order or open order formation be a one model wide? The answer is yes. Okay,
that's
super simple, very easy, simple thing. Do you got any thoughts on that?
No, well, there's lots of monsters and units that aren't in units that have close order specifically. So I guess that's a good clarification.
It's because lots of movement is based around how close order units move and open order units move. So, I think that's fair. Okay, next one, Magic. If a wizard miscasts and rolls an 8 or higher on the miscast table, it's only the wizard that attempt to cast any more spells for the remainder of that turn, or is it all wizards in their army? And the answer is a roll of an 8 or higher on the miscast table affects all friendly wizards.
Yep. And that's how I read it, but I did think to myself, is that how it works? Very happy to see that they say, yes, that is how that works.
Okay, so does this make miscasting much more dangerous?
It makes a sudden stop more likely, because that means on the Magic hot takes, we were talking about how there's basically, there is now something bad happens pretty much no matter what, mainly that you no longer get to cast anything. For the remainder of the turn, not even that phase. So that's even more harsh.
Yeah. So because the way it's worded when I dispel, this means I'm no longer going to be able to dispel for the rest of the turn if I was to roll a double 1 on the dispel. Got to be.
FAQ in the FAQ.
No,
I would think so.
Because you just replaced miscast.
Would be at, yeah. So that's fast. That's interesting. That's dangerous. Okay.
That's dangerous.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. What happens when a remains in play spell that's already in effect if the wizard that cast it attempts to cast it again? I think a lot of people, there was some wordage for what that remains in play spells can't, like you can't cast 2. This is just clearing it up and it says it ends immediately, which is great. So you can't have the same remains spell from the same wizard, but you can have multiple wizards with the same remains in play spell. Okay.
Yep. You want to alternate a bit here?
Sure, go for it, boss.
Yeah. Can a model wearing armor or carrying a shield cast a bound spell? Yes.
Nice. Because normally they can't, apart from the exception of multiple different wizards who can.
Yes, of course. And a bound spell is often in magical items and things. So yes, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Does a wizard that has joined a unit need to be in base contact with an enemy model to cast an assailment spell? Oh, actually, this is one I do want. Or do they only need to be within the fighting rank? They only need to be in the fighting rank, bud. All right.
We speculated on that, and we were correct. That's awesome. Good.
All right, love that. If a wizard declines... oh, God, sorry. This is you. Sorry, apologies.
If a wizard declines a challenge and retires from combat, does their unit lose the benefits of any ranged self-spell that the wizard has cast?
Yes. Oh, that's huge.
So that's a good way to like take off an effect is if the wizard's the only character in combat, just challenge him out. That's interesting. Cool.
Dude, that is actually very cool. Okay, and then they just like would lose their 5 at ward or something. Okay, love that. If that's really good, that's really fun. If a unit with the Fly X special rule moves over a magical vortex that counts as dangerous terrain, is it affected by it? Oh, yes. Magical vortex are considered tall enough to affect even models that are flying above the battlefield. These are genuine, interesting questions.
These are actually good questions. Wow. All right. Cool. The first one was the only one I was like, well, yeah, okay. But yeah, those are good. All right.
Okay, love that.
I'm into this. Movement.
Yeah, go for it.
Is a unit's maximum possible charge range the maximum distance from an enemy unit at which it can declare a charge, or the maximum distance it can move when making a charge move? And the answer is, it is the maximum distance from an enemy unit at which it can declare a charge. I think that one we knew. That one, okay, good.
But just for clarification for other people at home, because when you charge, you wheel, but when you're wheeling, that takes up like the existence of the movement, if that makes sense. So let's say you charge 10 and you're exactly 10 away, but it requires you to do a 2-inch wheel, then you effectively get that for free, but not quite free, because it's not that you get free wheels, it's that you completed the charge, but then you wouldn't get to make the very best connection at the end. Like, so there's a little bit...
So yeah, the wheel is at the beginning of the move to maximize contact, and so the way it's phrased is that it cannot make you fail the charge. So like where it becomes a little bit dicey is when like say someone's to the very extreme edge of your arc. So if you were to go straight, you would miss the unit. That's where I hope we maybe get a clarification on that. This is just more like. Yeah, this is just basically the charge range is just like the theoretical max distance a unit can go.
Yeah,
on a charge if you were to roll the 6.
Yeah, and the other movements inside of that are not going to shut down your ability to complete that charge. So then, when a unit performs a maneuver, can its front edge pass through another unit? No. The only exception is when a unit pivots.
So that is really good too, because. That is a really good clarification, because right now I think a lot of people were assuming that maneuver also referred to wheels. So if you were in if you have a bunch of guys together in a line and they're really tight, you can't actually wheel because your unit's going to hit the other one. Yeah. Pivot, I guess, refers to like at the end of an open order move is literally when it moves on the spot. So like that's very cool.
Very
so that
cool.
Is a good clarification. That is a very good clarification.
Love that. Okay, so
actually no. Here we go. When a unit wheels, is it acceptable for a rear corner to pass through another unit? Yes, provided the unit does not end its movement on top of another unit or within 1 inch of an enemy unit. When a unit wheels, those at its rear do not really follow a long curving path as it might appear, moving a large block of models on the table. In reality, they would take a more direct route, following the paths of the front rank and resuming their formation behind it. So there you go. They clarify both. So yes, you are not railroaded. Because in older games, you could literally make it so a unit couldn't turn because you put one unit here. Yeah, you'd move block them. So that kind of removes that from the game, which I think is a very good one.
I agree.
Very good thing to do.
Yeah, excellent, because that is a feels bad, and some of the single, like an eagle is a perfect example of something that you could just use to ruin people's lives. Okay, when a unit redirects a charge, can it charge a unit that lies beyond its maximum possible charge range? Answer: no. Just good clarification. It's fine. Next.
If a unit that is arrayed in open order wishes to use the fast cavalry special rule to perform a quick turn after marching, can any of the models within that unit move further than twice their movement characteristic? No. As stated on page 124, no model can move further than twice its movement characteristic. However, there are obvious exceptions to this, such as when a marching column marches or when a dice roll determines a unit's movement.
I love that. It's like, no, look it up, bitch. Okay, that's good. I think open orders and skirmish units are going to have they have so much freedom compared to everything else that it's going to feel like an issue in some cases. When a unit enters the battlefield as reinforcements, is there a limit to how far into the battlefield models can be placed? Yes. The unit is considered to have moved onto the battlefield, therefore no model can be placed more than twice its movement characteristic from the edge of the battlefield the unit enters from. Okay. Nice and easy.
That actually is also a good clarification, because you could try to gain an edge there by, deploying onto the board in a very narrow marching column. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's good. That does restrain that. That's good.
That's good.
Shooting.
Can
a model use a breath weapon after marching? No. A model cannot shoot during the shooting phase if it marched during the preceding movement phase. And although they work differently to most missile weapons, breath weapons are a type of missile weapon. Okay, Perfect. Cool. So same restrictions, same as magic missiles. You can't march and shoot those either.
Love both of those two things. Can a unit that is partially on a hill? Oh my God. Can I just say right now that I never intend to buy a hill or produce a hill or have a hill at my event? Because immediately someone was like, hey, brother, have you got a hill? I'm like, shut up. Not in deployment zones, at least. Anyway, but whatever. Everyone apparently wants one hill that they put all of their models on.
It's such a conversation. Yes.
That I loathe.
It's such a conversation.
Yeah. Can a unit that is partially on a hill shoot in two ranks or draw a line of sight across other units that are not themselves on a hill? Only people who bring hills are awful. No, only with those models that are on the hill. For example, if a unit consists of 20 models in two ranks, 10, and only 5 models in each rank are on the hill, only those 2 models can claim benefits from shooting on a hill. Why is there so much clarification about hills?
Because they're incredibly important. Hills and trees are very important. And I think, We are
gonna, it sounds like we're going to disagree a lot on this.
They just have powerful effects, right? So you're able to draw a line of sight over other models when you're on a hill, not over other hills or over other forests, but over other models. They're very powerful, important terrain pieces. So it's good that they clarify that it's basically on a model by model basis. So that's great.
That is good. I agree.
Can a unit on a hill draw a line of sight across and shoot over another unit on the same hill? I think this is actually in the rules, though. A unit that is closer to the top of the hill. Oh my goodness, they're really good. Okay.
I don't
can draw a line of sight. No. Can draw a line of sight across and shoot over one that is closer to the bottom. Units cannot draw a line of sight across or shoot over units that are closer to the top of the hill than they are. So they basically went with a complicated ruling but one that I guess plays somewhat logically. So not so bad. But I when I checked this when I was playing with Dickie, it seemed to say that that basically if you're both on the hill, then you can't see over the other one. They're basically modifying that.
Okay, perfect. Can a cannon target a point on the ground if woods or a hill lie between it and the point? No, nice. A cannon cannot shoot over woods or hills, even if it's on a hill.
As I mentioned.
However, a stone thrower can if it chooses to fire indirectly. Perfect.
Or anything else that has bombardment. Yeah, that's really good. Can a cannon target a point on the ground if another unit lies between it and that point? Not unless that cannon is on a hill and the unit is not. However, as above, a stone thrower can if it chooses to fire indirectly. Those are actually two kind of not necessarily needed ones, but it does basically really reinforce the idea that hills and forests block line of sight, as do units and models on the table. So that's, to me, a clarification of line of sight. And it's good. I think it's in the rules already, but it's good.
Yeah, I also think both of those two things were already in the rules, but it's nice just to be like, simple question, simple answer, instead of like, a couple of paragraphs. So I'm in on those.
Yep.
Combat. Is that right? Yeah, is that right? Is it you or me?
Yep. No, it's you. It's you, baby.
Okay. If my unit loses a round of combat and either gives ground or falls back in good order for big O, can it choose to use different weapons in the next turn if the enemy made a follow-up move or pursuit move? No. Even though the units separated momentarily, they remain locked in place and engaged in combat once the follow-up pursuit move has been made. In other words, the combat is ongoing and neither unit has a time to stow one weapon in exchange for another. The exception being the time it takes to discard a broken lance, spear, or draw a sword.
Okay, cool.
I think this is probably going to affect, is it horde units or mob units, where you can have multiple different weapon profiles in a unit, so that your front ranker's got X, and then you fall back. You're like, actually, I'm going to change it to this, so you can't do that. So whatever you start with is where you're locked in at, which is interesting.
All right, that's cool. What happens to a unit that gives ground whilst within 2 inches of the edge of the battlefield? Should any part of a unit cross beyond the edge of the battlefield while it's giving ground, the entire unit is removed from play and counts as having been destroyed. That is a great clarification. Whoa. I actually wondered this when we first learned about Fubigago and give ground. So that's awesome. You can just literally bully a unit fully off the table. That is great.
Okay.
Even if they're giving ground. So that's good. So you can sort of win but also lose. So that's good.
It's good against especially gunline armies that are going to deploy right near the back of the edge battlefield, like line.
Yeah, you just push them off the table.
Yeah, get out. All right, what happens if a unit that cannot give ground due to the presence of another unit, the unit stops immediately as if it were surrounded? That's interesting. I wondered if the units popped through.
That I swear is also in the rules already, but that again, not a bad clarification. What happens if a unit that wishes to make What happens if a unit that wishes to make a pursuit or overrun move cannot move due to the presence of other units? Answer: it may happen that it is simply impossible for a pursuing or overrunning unit to move without it ending up on top of another unit. In such cases, the unit does not move, but is considered to have made a pursuit or overrun move.
Okay.
All right, cool.
All right, that's a bit of a shame, but it's a good answer and the right answer. But I like the idea of setting up something so that my unit intentionally flees, hits a road, falls, loses, bumps over my own unit, and then you have to follow up into my other unit, but you can't do that, and that's probably okay.
One thing, though, that immediately comes to mind would be if you are doing a pursuit move and you roll enough to catch them, but you can't physically get to where the unit got to, are they still destroyed?
Yeah, I think that's what it's trying to say. I would absolutely say that, because you can do the pursuit or overrun. So I would say if you've I think that's absolutely what it is. Okay, so if a unit completely destroys its enemy, oh wait, is this you?
No, that's you.
Oh, if a unit completely destroys its enemy in combat and makes an overrun move, can it attempt to reform after moving? Answer: unless it pursued into a fresh enemy, yes. Ooh. A unit that overruns makes a normal pursuit move, and since the enemy has already been wiped out, it may attempt to reform as it run down its foe as described. So running a unit down is super powerful. You wipe the unit out, you get a reform at the end. That's super good.
And also, this is huge. I am very certain, and I might get lit up in the comments on this, but I'm very certain that in 8th edition, when I played, if you overran a unit and basically if you charge in, destroy the unit, and you overrun, you weren't able to reform after that. So a lot of times you'd be left way out of position. This means that you're not getting punished for doing really well in combat. That is a great clear. This is a lot of bangers here. This is great.
They're really good. They're really good.
So challenges. If a wizard engaged in a challenge knows and uses an assailment spell that uses a template, are the hits distributed amongst the rear ranks of the enemy unit as described on page 158? Or is it only the other participant in the challenge that is hit? It is only the other participant in the challenge that is hit is the answer.
All right. That's a nice way to stop the assailment bomb that's about to happen.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. Right, the psychology of warfare. Are units required to make panic tests due to the actions of friendly models? For example, if a wizard miscasts and rolls a 2 to 4 on a miscast table, causing a dimensional cascade and inflict sufficient casualties on a friendly unit to cause to panic, must they make a panic test? The answer is yes. That example sounds like to us something that really would cause a panic amongst the ranks. Oh, even a little bit of commentary.
Oh. Oh.
Okay.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's great.
Question. Units must make a panic test when a nearby friendly unit with a unit strength of 5 or more is destroyed. When is unit strength counted? From the start of the turn, the start of the phase, or the point at which the unit is destroyed? Answer. From the start of the phase during which the unit was destroyed. For example, if a friendly unit with the unit strength of 10 is destroyed by enemy shooting during a single shooting phase, it causes panic in nearby friendly units. Players are not expected to remember the unit strength of every unit from turn to turn or phase to phase, but should keep track of unit strength during each phase. Okay.
That's just a good answer. Good clarity. I like that as well. Okay, universal special rules. Right. Can you choose not to roll for the arrival of ambushers during the start of the turn subphase? No. Unless the unit itself or the scenario being played as a special rule that changes the way your ambushers arrive, you must roll for the arrival during each of your turns from round 2 onwards. However, any special rules that affect the arrival of ambushers, which take effect after the start of turn phase, but before compulsion move subphase, may be used as normal regardless of the results of the ambushers rule. Okay. That's good. Right. That's just good clarity, in my opinion. On
Question.
when and where. Yeah.
If a weapon with the Armor Bane X special rule also has the poisoned attack special rule,
question.
What happens? Yeah, this is, and I hope it's what the answer is. Also has the poison attack special rule. What happens if I roll a natural 6 when rolling to hit? Answer. A rule such as Armor Bane X can have no effect if no roll to wound is made. In such cases, you may choose to roll to wound as normal in the hope of improving the weapon's AP characteristic. But if you do, the effect of poison attacks is lost, and you must accept the result of the to roll wound.
Okay. All right. So you get a choice here. Have we got abilities that stack on 6s? Is there more, like poison is a 6? Is there any other 6s? I'll have to check.
Well, both of these.
To wound. No, Armor Bane is 6 to wound, right?
Oh, I see. I see what the
Armor Bane is to wound
here now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does your auto to wound from poison, because just for everyone at home, poison automatically wounds on a roll of a 6 to hit. However, Armor Bane, which adds to your armor penetration, happens on a roll of a 6 to wound. So as they've said, what happens is you can either roll the 6 and it's a poison, or you can be like, no, I'm just going to take that as a normal to hit, and then I'm going to roll to wound to try to get my Armor Bane instead. That at least gives you some options, which I think is quite nice. Killing Blow is 6s to wound. That's interesting. So that would be like, does Killing Blow and Armor Bane stack, I guess, is the right question. Okay. But that's good. That's good clarity. That's good. So it's in my choice. That's actually really nice. So instead of it just being some arbitrary decision, I get some decision making, which I really like. Yeah.
Yep. And it dovetails with the, like, if you don't roll to hit, you don't get poisoned, for example, which is another thing they've got in the rules. So if it's something that triggers on a roll to hit or a roll to wound, you actually have to roll to get that benefit. You don't just automatically get it if you automatically hit or automatically wound. Cool. That makes sense.
Next up is you, I think.
Sure. Some mounted models have the countercharge special rule, but others do not, even though they have the same type of mount. Is this intentional? Yes. Countercharge is a rule that represents the skill and ferocity of the rider, not their mount. In other words, not every rider is willing or able to perform a countercharge regardless of their mount.
Just high elf players currently writing in Dragon Princes. Why do they have impetuous? But sure. Okay. Can a model with large target special rule draw a line of sight over or through another model with a large target special rule? The answer is no. Interesting. So larger target just stops straight out. Okay.
I'm liking the clarifications to line of sight. If a character without the Vanguard special rule joins a unit with it during deployment, can the character make a Vanguard move with the unit? No. What's more, if the unit is formed, it will not be able to make a Vanguard move. However, if the unit is in skirmish formation, it can make its Vanguard move as normal, leaving the character behind. Interesting. Interesting. Because, okay, that's cool. Because normally the character would move from the unit, but in this case, they can just dust them. All right, cool.
Okay, that's good. I love that. What happens if a weapon is subject to both the ponderous and quick to shoot special rule? These rules
You go
effectively.
cross-eyed.
Yeah, yes. The rules effectively cancel one another out, meaning the weapon would suffer a -1 to hit modifier for moving and shooting, because one is ignore the -1 and one is add +1, so it's cancel each other out. Okay.
Can a character that is fleeing use the rallying cry special rule?
Obviously not.
No, because no one would hear them over the sound of them running away. Oh, you guys.
These are also good answers because they're fun.
I'm liking them. Yeah.
If a model with regeneration X special rule passes its regeneration save against an attack with multiple wounds X special rule, do I still need to roll the dice for the number of mortal wounds generated by a dice roll? Okay, this is interesting. Yes.
Ooh.
So this is actually, in my opinion, a change, right? Even though, like, this is a change from what's written in the rules. Even though the wounds were saved, they will still count towards the combat result. Oh, wait, they will still count. If the number of multiple wounds is generated by the dice roll, wait, hold on. Let me just read it again, sorry. Against an attack with multiple wounds, special rule, do I still need to roll the dice if the number of multiple wounds is generated by a dice roll? Okay, so if it's saved. So basically it just adds, because any wounds that you save, thanks to regeneration, still count towards combat resolution. However,
got it.
Does that make sense? So that's what's happening. What I thought this was going to say was that you would
It was like
roll
feel no pain.
Yeah, you would multiply out your damage and then you would roll regeneration save. So that's not the case. You make your regeneration save, and if you pass it, you still roll out the damage. So because that counts towards combat resolution. Okay.
Okay, that's cool. All right, so it's not okay. Cool. That's
Not as big as you and me thought.
The same thing.
Yeah, because you can still have 2 ward saves, which is insanely dumb. But sure.
Yeah. Can a unit that deploys using the scout special rule make a vanguard move? No. That's pretty straightforward.
Obviously. Why would you? I'll put this here. Okay, now move. When a unit that does not have the stupidity special rule is joined by a character that does, the unit becomes subject to the special rule. What happens if the character leaves the unit? The unit ceases to be stupid the moment the character leaves. That makes sense.
Yep. And that's also covered in the rules. They're basically like anything that affects the unit and then a character joins now affects the character and vice versa. And when they part, they stop affecting. So that's good. They're being consistent. That's great. Can a character without the veteran special rule that has joined a unit with the veteran special rule benefit from it when attempting to use a special rule that requires them to make a leadership test? Rallying cry, for example. No. When a character attempts to use a special rule that requires them to make a leadership test, they must use their own leadership characteristic and, unless specifically stated otherwise, cannot use any additional special rules they themselves do not have.
Rule that requires them to make a leadership test. They use their own. Can a character without the veteran special rule that has joined a unit with the veteran special rule benefit from it when attempting to use special rule that requires them to make a leadership test? Okay, that's self-explanatory. There's some interesting. They have thought about this a lot. Like, for instance, units with Horde. Horde is the leadership one. Whichever one it is, either Horde or the other one. Then normally all the characters that can join that unit. Also, no, Horde's an extra rank. The not Vanguard, Warband. You get extra extra leadership. Normally, characters that can join that also have the Warband special rule on their sheet, which is kind of nice. Okay.
What is interesting in this, and again, this is a hot take, so maybe this is something the comments can help me out with, but and it might be, it's just that usually you're gonna, in general, my gut would always be you use the best leadership you have available in the unit when you're doing a test. This is saying that, when it's a character effect and it says leadership test, it has to be their own. Like, does that also apply to Inspiring Presence? Because Inspiring Presence used to be worded, and I don't know it off the top of my head now if it's the same in Old World, used to be worded that you can use the general's leadership as your own. So maybe that gets around that. But it's just interesting because, usually you're in a situation where you can take the best. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Worth additional reading on this because there might be situations where it actually does have interesting ramifications.
Yeah. All right, unusual formations is the next section. Some attacks allow a specific model within a unit to be targeted. Can such an attack be used to break the coherency of a unit of skirmishers and cause other models to be removed as well? No. As stated on page 184, you cannot remove a model from a unit of skirmishers if doing so would cause that unit to lose coherency. However, if an attack targets a specific model, such as a champion or character, that model must be removed if the attack reduces you to 0 wounds. In such cases, simply replace the removed model with another model belonging to the same unit, one one that would be removed as a casualty in order to maintain coherency. I think at this point, someone that asks a question, well, what if that's not possible? Like is the next question. But what he's basically saying is, no, you can't do that. So just work it out. Okay, fair enough.
Also, like normally this would be responded with that they would need to get back into coherency as soon as they can. It's interesting that they basically abstracted. Like when you, like when the fighting rank includes a musician and a standard bearer, although the actual model would die, someone else comes and picks it up. They're sort of abstracting it by saying they just replace them in the unit. So that's interesting. I was expecting them to say just they must move back into coherency as soon as they can. Okay. So they basically kept it. They basically kept their ruling more consistent in the sense that they can never be out of coherency.
Yeah.
Characters. When a character takes a chariot as a mount, do they replace one of the crew? No. The points you pay for a chariot include its crew, whether that chariot is included in your army on its own or as a mount for a character. However, in reality, it might prove difficult to fit a character and the full complement of crew onto the chariot model itself. So, if so, it is perfectly acceptable to remove one or more of the crew models to make space for the character. In such cases, we can think of the missing crew model's profile as a way of representing that the beasts pulling a character's chariot are bound to be bigger, stronger, and better trained than normal. The longest answer possible for one of the most innocuous ones, but that is cool. So yeah, you still get all this stuff.
Also, pretty rad that you can like stack up a character on a chariot now and like kit bash it all. That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
Also,
I think it's rad that we're willing to consider that. I think you could do that before. It's just like now it's like, oh, maybe that actually isn't a dumb idea.
Also, absolutely rad that there's like a paragraph to just like be like, well, if the model isn't there, then how possibly would you ever do the attacks? like there's absolutely no imagination involved. If a warband character, as described on page 180, joins a warband with a rank of bonus of +1 or more, does the modifier change their leadership characteristic, increase the command range? The answer is yes, which is actually pretty spicy. So if you did have a high leadership, because command range is based on the the command range is based on the leadership of a character. So you can have a pretty significant command range. It's pretty fun.
That's a big deal too for like, I can, even in the game I played, like Goblin Shamans, they might have a command range for an effect of a spell, like Bad Moon Rising, I think is an area of effect. So that means that they're getting the benefit from Warband, which I'm not sure if I was playing it that way or not. So cool.
That is very cool.
I believe it's me. Cannon question. Cannon do not directly target enemy models. They target a point on the ground. How does this work with targeting lone characters? Can a cannon be fired in such a way as to hit a lone? This is awesome. In a way such... Sorry, I apologize, but I did wonder this. Can a cannon be fired in such a way as to hit a lone character that would normally be protected from shooting by their proximity to a friendly unit? So normally you can't target a character within 3 inches of a unit. And so a cannon is actually shooting the ground. So they say the purpose of the targeting lone characters rule is to protect characters from enemy shooting, even from shooting that does not follow the usual rules. What? Though it does not protect them from templates. Therefore, and in the spirit of this rule, unless they are the closest target to the cannon, an enemy character that is within 3 inches of a friendly unit that contains 5 or more models of the same troop type cannot be struck by a cannonball. Holy shit. Even if their base lies directly under the path of the bouncing cannonball. However, if a lone character's base lies directly underneath the strike point of a cannonball, they are hit. Well, that is it. That is really cool. Because I again,
lone characters are so safe.
Like way safer. Because again, I was a Night Goblin Shaman, and I was thinking, why wouldn't they just be outside of the unit? And Dickie said, well, I could just punk them with a cannon. I was like, oh, absolutely you could. But nope, wrong. You can't punk lone characters as long as they are neither the closest and they're within 3 inches of a friendly unit. You can't punk them with a cannonball. That is big, big, big.
This makes absolutely no sense based on every 80s movie I ever saw. Because they could shoot a tank at like a pigeon in the sky. Like I feel like
I really like it though, actually, because this.
No, I like it too. I like it too.
It creates ludonarrative dissonance. Ding, ding. If cannons are basically like sniper rifles, which is how they've been a lot in previous games. That again takes a little bit of that sniper rifle effect of the cannon out, which is great. Of course, if you're mounted on a big giant friggin' monster of some kind, you're still going to get hit by the cannonball. But anyway, that's cool. Your go.
Small Arms Fire is also like 80s action movies in which it's just loads of bullets but no actual hits in the old world.
That's very true.
Question. If a named character is equipped with a mundane weapon, such as a lance or a cavalry spear, and a magic weapon, can they choose to use the lance or cavalry spear, or must they use a magic weapon? They must use their magic weapon. However, some named characters will carry a backup weapon, which they use should their magic weapon be destroyed. Because there are ways to destroy a magic weapon, so that is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Warhammer battles. Uh-oh.
New section.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. The rule book lists the minimum size of a battlefield as 30 by 44 inches for games up to 1,000 points. 44 by 60 for 1,001 to 33,000 points. So 44 by 60 is that new, smaller table size that has come along. So it's listed as that. Okay, so I got to get to the end of this because this is very big for me. I've argued about this with a lot of people. And 44 by 90 for games of 3,001 points for the above. Do we have to use these sizes? No, these are the minimum recommended sizes. And this is from the rules, and I've quoted this at people. The normal size battlefield for a game between 2,000 and 3,000 points is 48 by 72, 4 by 6 as God intended. My words, not theirs. And players are encouraged to use this. You don't want to be abnormal unless you're using Legacy Factions.
Doesn't say totally that. Normal. Read the thing.
The minimum sizes are based on the folding card battlefields Games Workshop produces. These are ideal when space is an issue, or for smaller games. For example, we prefer a 44 by 60 battlefield for a game of 1,000 or 1,500 points, which I've also said, rather than the more traditional 48 by 48 battlefield. We find the smaller rectangular shape more pleasing. That is so great. That is so great.
What about that guy that encouraged everyone to cut his mats? Heartbreak for that guy. I can't remember who it was.
That's Mikey, and it was just a circumcision joke that no one got, and I was like, "That's awesome."
But they cut all their mats, right? A lot of people have cut a lot of mats.
There have been a lot of mats cut, but not here in the Heffel bunker. I've got 4 48 by 72s. It might be a thing where TOs do push for the other way, but I'm telling you, man, 2,000 points is a lot of models to cram onto the 44 by 60. I'm so happy that they went to bat for 4 by 6 here. 48 by 72. It's sort of enshrining it as, I love that they call it the normal way to play. They still didn't say this is what you should use, but you are encouraged to use this. So, that's great. It's not a hard ruling, but it does say that is what they had in mind when they were doing this.
Yeah, I think also worth pointing out that when we do eventually start the stat center for the old world, that we probably will be accepting tournaments that use either 48 by 60 or indeed the normal sized, as God intended.
What has become what? That's right. The Lord's table size. Magic items over to you, Mr. Rob.
Can the wearer of the wizarding hat cast spells whilst wearing armor? Yes. The wearer of the wizarding hat is not actually a wizard. Their magical powers are granted by the haunted hat, which is not affected by any armor the model may wear. Like, not only are these answers excellent, but they're also like themey. It's pretty good.
Oh,
excellent.
Guys, this is great. All right, question. Can the wearer of the wizarding hat also wear a magic helmet, such as a bedazzling helm? Yes, because one... I hope they have funny here. Yes, because one is an enchanted item and the other is a type of magic armor. But we hope anyone equipping a model in such a way would make the effort to depict it wearing 2 hats. Put a hat on a hat. Nice.
That's a great answer. Right. If the scroll of transmogrification is successfully used against a wizard mounted on a ridden monster, a dragon, or example, what happens to the mount? The wizard is transmogrified, but not their mount. In the example given, you would be left with a frog riding a dragon.
Okay. Nice. Transmogrification. Excellent. Unusual situations. Maybe we'll break this up. But Warhammer the Old World is a complex game of maneuver and counter-maneuver between tightly formed battle lines of densely packed infantry and cavalry. It is to be expected that unusual situations will arise when units get in one another's way, interfering with movement, shooting, combat, and so forth.
Okay, to deal with this, we encourage players to resolve uncertainties in a way that keeps the game flowing, or to seek the opinion of an impartial third party at an organised event where such a situation could take on great significance. This is the role of an event organiser or the umpires. I love an umpire. And players should always defer to the ruling body of an official as is right and honourable. Only the most dastardly rapscallion would argue with such an exemplar of the hobby. Let's go.
Oh, they're enshrining don't give your TO shit. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
For
in
example,
the rules.
For example, if moving, fleeing, overrunning, or pursuing units becomes too complex with units blocking the movement of one another, you may decide to nudge one unit aside by the smallest amount possible to make space for another, or you may decide to go back and resolve the movement of certain units in a different order.
Okay, which I think is good. And then if such resolution is impossible, the simplest solution is to rule the unit cannot do the thing, by which we mean it cannot make the move, cannot take the shot, and so forth. As stated on page 93 of the rulebook, what matters more than any rule is that players enjoy the game and rivalries remain friendly. Okay.
So the reason why I really like these final closing paragraphs is they do take the cowardly way out in a couple situations and say, yeah, just fudge it, figure it out with your opponent. And they're at least acknowledging that sometimes people just want a ruling. And so what they're saying here is, okay, if you guys can't work it out, if you can't nudge something in a way that's mutually agreeable, then you tell the TO, and the TO will find the agreeable way. And then they also give another out, which is just if you can't do it without nudging something, then it just can't happen, which I think is probably the way it should be played. But we'll have to see in the fullness of time whether or not that's too harsh.
I think it's good. I think enshrining the idea that umpires and TOs obviously have right of way. I mean, they aren't talking to you and me, and I don't think they're talking to most of our community because this is already true. But I think maybe some returning players maybe potentially could do with having this information passed on to them. I think that's helpful.
Look, hopefully everyone has at least some experience in organized sports or things that use referees and people who have to come and adjudicate a situation. There's nothing wrong with pleading your case, but when a ruling is made and when right or wrong, because sometimes the TO in the moment presented with the facts will get the ruling wrong. You just have to take it. You say your piece, and if you're on the wrong side of the law, you're on the wrong side of it. TOs are not infallible. They'll get calls wrong, but it doesn't work if you don't follow what the ruling is. So it's just saying there that you must respect whatever the final decision is from the TO. And even if they're full of poop and they do the wrong thing, you just got to take it. That's the way it is. You can save it for the press conference after, and the league can decide whether or not they fine you. That's basically how it's got to go. Otherwise, these things just don't work. Rob, what a tour de force! By us, for one thing, because we did that in an hour, not even 45 minutes. But also, SDS.
So as someone who, as Val said, when we were getting the information, I was like, no, don't worry, we just change it to A to Z, we'll find it. When someone who does this religiously and has done this for a long time for other game systems, it's actually quite interesting. There's a significant difference in the way this is written versus Age of Sigmar and 40k. Many of the Age of Sigmar and 40k ones feels like them not wanting to cop to a mistake, and then they write an incredibly complicated question that no one's ever asked to give you an answer as an FAQ. What I like about this is I would say that, with the exception of how Poison and Armorbane works, I don't think there's anything in there that has been overtly not already in the rules, but the clarity on those bits in the rules have been nice. And I do want that. So I kind of started this show with, oh, you're going to be mad that your book's out of date. But actually, absolutely not. There's nothing in here which I would say is a change from what the book currently says. Just maybe is worded better or is more specific.
There were a handful that, the Hill one, actually, I think does change what it says, but very limited. Most of these were genuine clarifications on things that genuinely are helpful to be clarified. That was not a waste of time to go through, and again, gives even more support and credence to the idea that this is a game that they have been chewing on, mulling over, understanding for some time now,
getting feedback on,
and clearly hearing that feedback They didn't come out with pages of changes in errata because there are like mechanics that just don't work out of the box or things are functionally broken. We'll probably find some. Like that's going to happen. Like as when you go from a playtest team of maybe dozens at the most to thousands and thousands around the world of people who like really obsess over these things, we're gonna find some weird shit. That's no doubt going to happen. But out of the box, I'm just glad to see the clarifications we've got. I would ask chat, what are things that now that you're engaging with the rules, like do you think they should have called out? Are there broken things you've already found that would warrant you think an errata and that you're pissed? How could they not have answered this? Because these two fanboys feel like these were really good. This is a really good start.
I think it's a good start. I think this is a competent, good start. Feels like a love letter, which is nice. Feels really, really, really lovely. Yeah, and I'm
playful and not condescending. Sometimes the answers are just straight condescending that I've seen in these things. These were fun answers.
Yeah, some of them. They were fun. They were fun. It felt like I was engaged by the answers. I didn't feel like I was just reading by rote, which is nice as well. And I enjoyed doing it as a pest, so I loved that. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Normally this is a solo project I have to do, so this is nice to face these all in my own.
Thanks for letting me read as well. I know I inserted myself, but that was
that was good. That was good for me. That was good for me. Right, so I hope you've all enjoyed this. Do like, comment, subscribe, and like Val says, leave us as many thoughts as you can on this subject, because those are things we read. These comments, we're religious about it. Read them, learn.
Yep.
Take information in, and that stuff is really valuable because hopefully it makes us better at what we want to do. Which is, play these games, organize events, run different stuff, and get involved.
Yeah.
So,
and we're learning together as a community. I've been learning so much from this show, from podcasts, from comments, from everywhere. Like we're learning together. So the more we feedback and talk about this stuff, the better we'll be able to play this game. And it's an awesome game.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, let's go. Right, so let us know what you think. We've got loads to talk about. There'll be another show coming so soon, which is going to be super fun. Check it out. See you guys soon. Thank you for being Squarebase. Square blessed. Loads of love. Bye.